Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 530 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger.
And I'm Janelle Slade. Emergency crews now on the scene of a fatal crash west of Billings.
At least one person is dead as fire crews rushed to douse flames. It spread to a nearby bridge, sending thick smoke into the air.
Now the area near 72nd Street and King Avenue is now closed to all traffic.
Emergency crews initially responded to a crash at Folsom Road and King Avenue about 4:15 this afternoon. That single vehicle crash somehow sparked a brush fire, spreading flames to a nearby train trestle.
Laurel, Montana Highway Patrol and Billings crews arrived on the scene northeast of Laurel. Montana Highway Patrol is now listing the crash as a fatal. No word yet on the victim or what caused the crash.
Laurel firefighters were quickly able to put out that fire that consumed the train bridge and were in mop-up mode by just before 5. All of King Avenue is closed, though, from 72nd and to 80th Street West. And as details emerge, we'll have the very latest on KTVQ.com.
A 10-year-old lawsuit alleging the FBI performed inadequate law enforcement on Montana Indian reservations back in court today.
Federal judge rejecting a request for a jury trial, but he did set a course to attempt to resolve that case. That lawsuit was brought by the family of Stephen Bear Crane, who was shot and killed 14 years ago on the Crow Indian Reservation. The family says the FBI did a cursory job of investigating the case and decided that the killer, a white man, acted in self-defense. The suit says the FBI discriminates against Native Americans by not providing them with adequate law enforcement.
Today, District Judge Sam Haddon of Helena rejected the family's request for a jury trial, but he did say he hopes to rule on the case as soon as possible and, if needed, hold a trial to resolve disputed facts in the case. After the hearing, Bear Crane's family said they hope the suit can lead to justice both for their son and other crime victims on Indian reservations.
We do have the hope that it will be reinvestigated and it will be handled properly so that in the outcome of it that justice will be served for Stephen.
It would be justice for other people also to give, because there's a lot of crimes that happened on the reservation that hasn't been prosecuted properly, and just to for other people to be able to get the justice that they deserve.
Now, this case has been to the U.S. Supreme Court and the 9th U.S. Circuit Court twice on separate issues within the case.
The man accused of fracturing a boy's skull at the Mineral County Fair this past weekend says he felt it was his duty as a patriot to discipline the boy. Court documents show 39-year-old Kurt Brockway asked the boy to take his hat off during the national anthem, and the boy refused, instead allegedly cursing back at him. That's when Brockway stated he grabbed the boy by his throat, lifted him in the air, and slammed him to the ground. Brockway's attorney says that Brockway is a disabled veteran with a traumatic brain injury, and that Brockway felt his actions were under a direct order from the president due to the president's condemnation of people kneeling or disrespecting the flag or anthem. Brockway's attorney said his client said, quote, "I guess I messed up because he got hurt, but I'm a patriot." Brockway's attorney says he intends to present his client's neuropsychological evaluation to the court and that Brockway will plead not guilty. He's due back in court on August 14th.
If a mass shooting happened in Billings, local emergency personnel say they are as prepared as any in the country.
The Billings Fire and Police Departments have been working together with the latest tactics to save lives. Q2's David J. reports on the active shooter and rescue task force response training.
All right, I got an open door, right?
An active shooter portion of that component is law enforcement's response to an active shooter situation and how we are able to quickly eliminate the threat. But usually in active shooter situations, we have high numbers of casualties and injured.
We're not getting into the hot zone to where they think the shooter still is, but we are getting into the warm zone where they've kind of cleared that area. We somewhat know where the shooter is, and under their protection, we are starting care.
The training involves a report of a shooting at the Billings Career Center.
If I can bring 10 or 15 fire department personnel with me, with my 10 officers, now I have more manpower to deal with the mass numbers of casualties.
You know, we don't have to do what they do, we have to learn what they're doing so we can, effectively make the whole operation work the way it's supposed to.
The police and firefighters are entering each classroom, trying to find out if there are any more shooters and threats, and also looking for victims.
That's clear. It is our goal to get the fire department and EMS into where the injured are at as soon as possible.
We're going to extract those victims and bring them all to a central, what we call a casualty collection point. And that's where we can start to begin treatment.
The practice is the preparation in case of a real shooting.
Law enforcement can't do this alone. EMS can't do this alone. Fire can't do it alone. The hospitals aren't able to do this alone. And this is truly one of those incidents that we have to really come together as a community with our resources and utilize them.
Two different occupations, but when you put the two together, you have an outstanding organization that's protecting the citizens of Billings. We're well ahead of the pace out there.
In Billings, David J., MTN News.
And everyone in both of those departments will have gone through the one-day training this week.
A Billings Heights burger place closed tonight after fire and smoke caused more than $30,000 damage. Now, fire crews were called to the Fuddruckers at 875 Main Street in the Heights about 1:30 a.m. Flames caused major damage to the restrooms and minor smoke damage throughout the rest of the restaurant. Well, tonight, investigators tell us a restroom exhaust fan started that fire. No one was inside the building when the fire sparked.
A 5-year-old boy has died after drowning at the Hyalite Reservoir yesterday. According to the Gallatin County Sheriff's Office, that boy was visiting with his family from out of state. The boy's body had been underwater for a short period of time before his family members were able to locate him. Efforts to resuscitate him were unsuccessful.
On the energy front tonight, another delay in the auction of Cloud Peak Energy assets across our region. It's the second delay in as many weeks. The bankrupt coal company is trying to sell its Spring Creek mine in southern Montana and 2 mines in Campbell County, Wyoming. The new auction date is now August 19th. And some good news for hundreds of Wyoming coal miners recently laid off near Gillette. A federal judge approved the sale of Black Jewel to Contura Energy this week. Now, that sale could put as many as 500 miners back to work in 2 mines shut down on July 1st when the company filed for bankruptcy. Contura must first reach agreements with the Department of Interior before opening.
Montana Governor Steve Bullock on attack mode again against President Trump. Bullock trying to impress voters in Iowa, where he campaigned for president at the state fair.
Never in my life did I think that I would utter, you'd have a president who gives aid and comfort to our enemies abroad and incites those who fight against the decency at home. Or that my mother was
Bullock is picking up some ground in Iowa, according to the latest Monmouth poll out just today. Bullock's numbers improved from less than 1% to 1%, but that still isn't enough to qualify him for the September debate stage. Now, 9 candidates have qualified. The latest to make it to the stage for the fall debate is entrepreneur Andrew Yang. In order to qualify, candidates need to have polled at 2% in 3 polls approved by the DNC. They must also hit the required 130,000 unique donor mark. That next debate will take place September 12th in Houston.
Coming up on tonight's Q2 530 News, a new report showing that our food supply is getting burned by climate change. The trickle-down effect next.
And in sports, today's Senior Am finish was right down to the wire between 2 old buddies. Wait till you see how it finished.
Hey, coming up in weather, we've got a whole mess of rain down to the south of us. In fact, some of that stuff is getting very close to the Billings area. You can see they're just getting ready to move into Yellowstone County. We'll have a timeline when we'll hit coming up after this.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 530 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.